so much. Okay, next question. How does a lack of proper education or strategy contribute to failure?
Okay. So, like I said, ignorance is one of the things that make people lose money. In fact, even as a professional, I still go for higher courses. I learn from people. Like I may train some of my students actually have been privileged to learn from other mentors, right? And if I see, okay, this guy is doing well in this particular aspect, I'll humbly go and learn. Why? Because it's a stepping stone for me, right? So ignorance can, I think, we can start looking at ignorance from a newbie perspective and also from a professional perspective. Do you understand? Ignorance generally is lack of knowledge. That's what ignorance is. So in any regard, if it's in a strategy, for example, let's say a person wants to trade stocks but doesn't know which app to use, you can either lose money by giving somebody to help you buy stocks. You understand? Because you don't know the investment 101 knowledge of buying stocks and keeping. You may fall into the hands of people that would scam you. That is a loss. And that could lead to failure. That could even build fear on investing. Because a lot of people have bad memories, bad experiences that made them to hold back their investment desires, right? So knowledge is one thing or ignorance is one thing that has kept people out of profits, right? There are times where you need higher knowledge. Of course, with every level of investing comes a higher knowledge. You can't tell me that what Warren Buffett uses to invest currently is what he used to invest 30 years ago. So the same thing with traders alike. I believe if we decide to learn as time goes on, maybe as new things come up in crypto, we have meme coins, we have what's it called, Web3 coin, we have a lot of coins that you can leverage on, and these things come in seasons. So if you're not able to understand and learn as these things come, you definitely be ignorant about them, and most likely you lose when trying to engage those opportunities.
Wow. Hope the viewers are learning a lot at this moment. Okay, how do you guys have been mentioning a lot about, I've been hearing risks since the beginning of this. So how critical is risk management to trading success? Who answered the question? You or okay.
Okay, so
How critical is risk management to trading success?
risk management is very, very critical because the absence of risk management in trading would now make trading look like gambling. There are tools that are available to help you limit how much you are able to lose or make majorly loss because losing gets to you more than profit. Yes. When you lose, you are likely to want to do more harm to yourself or to whatever system that is governing your trading strategy. Now, risk management is so important because every trader must have lost at one point or the other. And that is where people decided there has to be a system that there is something I'm doing wrong. Meanwhile, there are already tools that are there to limit my loss. How about I exploit this so that with time I can pull back rather than keep losing and losing? He has had a lot of experiences. I have had my own experiences because of neglecting the general rules of risk management. So it cannot be overemphasized. It can never be overemphasized. That is what keeps people in business. That is what keeps people going in this market. Because first, you must preserve your capital. And risk management is the key point to preserving your capital before making profit. I think you will take over with.
Okay. Since you said you had the experience, so I will just follow up with this question. Can you share examples where poor risk management led to significant losses? And then, so that's because of time, what are the most effective strategies for managing risks in each market, both stocks, crypto, and forex? So the examples where poor risk management led to significant losses, and then the effective strategies to managing risks in each of these markets, both the stock, the crypto, and the forex.
Okay, so I would start with, I'll quickly give an experience I had. And let me match two experiences. The first would be the first account I ever lost, and then the most recent account I lost. And then one thing people fail to understand is even as professionals, you can take losses, right? Which means there is no one that does not take losses. If you can limit your losses, you will definitely stay longer in the game, like he said. So the first experience I had, the first account I ever lost while trading was basically because of ignorance. And then I was not using a stop loss. Now, stop loss is a tool which is embedded in most of the trading platforms to help you determine how much you want to lose per trade. So when I started trading, I think that day I was trading $150, my first ever account. I didn't know what stop loss was back then. I didn't know that, okay, it's not just entering this trade. There is a way I have to, okay, let me decide if this trade goes bad. Let me just lose $10 on it. And I'll look for another opportunity. And that was ignorance costing me the whole account. That was the first scenario. And the most recent scenario, even as an experienced trader, it actually happened recently. Now, I am trading this account way bigger. In fact, I think it was 10x what I first lost in my career. Right. So let's say roughly around $1,500 that I lost recently. Now, that was greed, not even ignorance. In this case, it was pure greed because I was like, okay, this is an A plus setup. We call A plus setups. Setups, you know that time and time again it has played out, right? But then, with trading, there are probabilities, which means even the one you call A plus can become Z minus. You understand? So it actually became a Z minus day for me because I was overconfident in the setup and then I was greedy, which means I over leveraged the account, right? And that's how I lost that. So put together, you can see that ignorance and greed played in losing account. Now, what can traders do to limit losses? Which means, which systems can traders employ to cut losses or to be profitable in the long term? Number one, I will use automations. Why? Because it falls into what we're trying to capture as a brand and as a body, right? Automations generally takes out the human factor, which means if, for example, on that first account I ever built in my life, if there was an AI tool or if there was an EA, which we call an expert advisor, that was there to limit my losses and maximize my profit, I wouldn't have looked stuck on one trade. Also, fast forward, if I was using an AI tool, right, on that particular recent trade I lost, right, it would have helped me to curtail the excesses of greed. Because those things work, it's just like yes and no. The way they program some of them is yes or no. If you tell it close at 1% profit, it will close at 1% profit. There is no human emotion to it to say, I feel like this trade will give me 3%. Let me wait. Or this trade is not really doing well. Let me increase the leverage to see if I can just capitalize on the small movement. All those little things can actually interfere with profitability, and that is why automation is the number one thing I would recommend to traders. Which means that whether you're there are times where people lose money because there's no light. Their phone went off. The one you told me recently, where EFCC collected somebody's phone, a trader's phone, and he lost a lot of millions, led to his suicide, unfortunately. If there was an automation in place that, okay, even if you are asleep, even if your phone got missing, once it gets to 2%, once it gets to minus 1%, it's out. Definitely people being profit. So that's number one I would recommend. Number two is to build strategies around the asset class you are trading. Which means that everything you are trading, every asset you are trading has the way it behaves. Now, for you to, even if you want to use automation tools, you have to embed that into those systems, right? To tell it, okay, this is what you should, this is what you should. So even as traders, for people that may not really because automation is kind of expensive, So before you get to automation, you can decide to build a system around what you're trading. Understand the asset. That's number one. Number two, don't be greedy. Build something that works. If in a week you've seen that, for example, on gold moves roughly around 500 to 1,000 pips per week. If you know that that is the average weekly range, for example, there is no point if you divide that by 5 days, which is 5 trading days in a week. You know that roughly that should be around 100 pips per day. To let's say 50 to 100 pips per day. So it means there is no point for me trying to get 1,000 pips on gold in one trade. It means that if I'm going to build a system around trading gold, I should be targeting what? 50 to 100 pips. And I'm out. If other opportunities present themselves, you take